this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is another one in the series of late winter, early spring tidy ups, which I do each year on my bonsai. Clean the pots up, get rid of the moss and have a look and see if there's any dead bits or crossing branches or any trimming that needs doing as a basic trim. I don't go mad, I don't look at every single branch, I don't look at everything like that. I'm not quite as bad as Peter Chan. Chop, 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 chop. That's that one done. He runs a nursery. He can't pick around with each. But I have seen people look at a twig and go, shall I cut there? Shall I cut there? If I cut there, I'll do this. I haven't got time to do that, and I certainly haven't got the patience, even if I had the time. So I'm not a hacker, but I do prune relatively quickly. Now this is one of my maples. There's a pair of these. I call them sister trees simply because they started out as 6-inch cuttings from Colette when she was in Southampton, when it was Southampton trees, as starter bonsai. They were just cuttings. I think they were 2-year-old cuttings, and I've grown them on from then. This one, certainly when it's in leaf, looks a really nice tree. It's got quite some nice form to the trunk. It's not a bad branch structure. The ramification's getting there, although it does get a bit rampant. This is quite a vigorous grower. The sister tree isn't such a vigorous grower, so I have to go a bit more careful pruning that. If I cut this wrong, it will just grow again. It's not the end of the world. But yes, we will do it. I'll bring the camera in a bit closer. You won't see everything I'm doing, but you get an idea basically. Where's my skizzers? Right, I always start on the lowest branch. Some people start at the top, I start down the bottom. And I'm looking for anything that I call a long extension, like that. That just comes off. Same there. I'm just going back into the tree to maintain shape and not have anything sticking out when it starts to grow. And any dead bits I find can just get trimmed off. Anything sticking up, anything hanging down, all of that. So that now becomes quite a nice little pad. It starts here, moves along here. There's a little back branch comes out of the base. It's not from the trunk, it comes out from this branch, but it works as a back branch. Just a bit of lower leaf cover down there. It does end up being the lowest branch. But when the leaves come out, it becomes part of this branch. Just gives it some depth, so I leave it. Little bits like that we don't want. Right, now, things like this. If I leave that, the only part I can leave here is this bit here, because it's died back. It's got 2 shoots. Well, if I get at it, as soon as those shoots start to grow and pinch them, I'll have 4. That makes that little branch worthwhile. The one hanging down, no. The one coming out the trunk, no. The branch, sorry. Then over here we've got a similar problem. We can add some depth to the branch, but this bit just goes sideways and doesn't look right. So we'll take it back to there. And then we'll just see what that does. So I'm going to move round to here now. This is the back bit that I was talking about. Mainly because that dead bit's annoying me. That goes right in behind the trunk, so that's no good. That's too long, we'll take that back. So is that. That's a dead bit. And then we've got dead bits here as well from last year, so we'll take those back as well. That'll do for that bit. I don't want to go mad, otherwise I'll lose that branch. And then coming round to this bit, this little bit points backwards towards the trunk, but it serves a purpose because this is the shape of this pad. That is part of the back of it. This is a long extension that was allowed to escape last year, and the new buds are here. If I take them off, I'll have a gap. So I'm going to have to run with them this year. That crosses over. That one's just too long, we don't want that. That's crossing over, we'll take that bit off because this is a stronger branch, we'll keep that. Looking at the overall shape again, I'm looking for that rounding. can come off. That's too long and it's got no back buds, so we take it back to there. This piece here comes over the top. So this bit hanging down with the really long extensions and the first buds are right out here can actually come off. That'll get replaced, so we can remove that. And then here, same again, I'm looking for that rounded shape, so that bit's a little bit too long, but we'll leave the rest. Now we're coming down here. This is just silly, but it has got a side branch, luckily. That's got one as well. That one hasn't. That can go right back in there. Oops, missed. There we go. That's too long. Back to the bud. That's too long. Back to there. And so is that. And there's a nice fork there, so we get two where there was one. Now we've got crossing branches here. What do we keep? Well, that bit's dead, so that can come off. What do we keep here? Well, this has got 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, and this one's only got a couple, so that one loses out. Right, coming round, we've now got a large piece sticking up. That's coming right off. And then we've got this long extension back to 2 buds. And what I'll be doing with my maples, I hope I get the time to do it because it is very time consuming. As these buds open, they will produce 2 little leaves and a central shoot. The energy in the tree will push that shoot like mad. And if you leave it alone, before you know it, it'll be 2 inches long. And that's where your next pair of buds will be, 2 inches from the previous pair. You've now got a long extension. So as that little shoot comes out, you take it out, you pinch it. And then you've got 2 little leaves. It's lost its growth, so it will produce 2 new shoots from the leaves. So where there was a growth pushing out that would have been a couple of inches long probably, with 2 buds far away, you will then get 2 new shoots, 1 from each leaf, that will be stunted, and both of those will produce 2 buds each, so you get 4. And if necessary, pinch it again. That way your ramification will grow dramatically. And while you're at it, the leaf size reduces down. That just does that naturally. So I'm taking quite a bit of this off because there's too much. Once these leaves come out, there'll be far too much foliage. It's all very well saying, yes, but it's all ramification. But, you know, maple leaves are not necessarily that small. I hope to keep them small-ish, but they're not that small. And they won't look right. It'll all look too much foliage, too dense. And if it goes too mad, you can't see the shape of the trunk. And then it's not a bonsai anymore, it's just a bush. Like it would be if you didn't do anything to it, sort of thing. Dead bit there. I'm just looking for the rounded shape, so anything that sticks out beyond that shape has to go, and anything like this is a really long extension before you get to those 2 buds. I don't want that. I'd rather it was just gone. Something else will grow instead. That can come off. Got another one here. The first 2 buds are right out here, so we'll get rid of that. You'd be surprised how much foliage is going to appear on this in the next couple of months. I'll be hacking it again. A couple of months' time I'll have to do this all again because it'll have gone mad. Right, so that's that lower pad. Now I stand back and think, you're sticking up and so are you. Look over the top, so's that. Now we've got a relatively flat pad. It does flick up a little bit. It's got some understory to give it some depth, and this little bit at the back. That's that one done. Now we come round to this one. And this one again has a little branch part way back that will once this grows, it becomes part of the rounded pad. It becomes part of the shape. Dead bits won't, because they don't grow. Right, sticking up, too long, take it back to there. It looks like quite a lot's coming off, but all the energy will go into what's left and push it on. And again, sticking up, so back to something that's not. There. A couple of dead bits there. Sometimes the dead bits just fall off. You get dieback on maples, it's natural. You've got a job to stop it. Frost gets at it, and you know, any weak spots, they'll just go. Right, so now coming around here, I've got a this is my problem, is that once I start getting up here I can't look down on the tree, so I can't see how flat the pads are. Now, talking of dieback, there's a huge branch gone here, and we're going to have to take that right back. Hopefully my scissors will do it. Yes, that had died right back into the wood, so that had gone. That bit's still got a little bit of life in it, so we'll see if it will shoot out. That won't, that's dead. So is that. Right, so what have we got left? We've got a silly long one there, that'll have to come right off back to the base. We'll keep that one. When it's pinched out it'll work. That one's sticking out now, I'm looking at it sideways on. That's growing the wrong direction. That's too tall. That'll do. Right, up to the next one. Dead bits. Right, now we've got some ugly bits near the top of the tree. Like here, there was a really large branch taken off. Well, it's calloused over quite nicely, but it still leaves a sort of lumpy bit. Now I could carve that and get an indented bit, put some sealant on it, and it would seal over again, but it would take a long time, and I could start getting disease in there. So I'm just looking at dead bits at the moment. Right, see again, this bit points back into the centre of the tree, so it serves no purpose. Dead bits, dead bits. Yeah. So there's just a little pad there, and then there's another little one there. They sort of overlap, but not quite yet. But with a meticulous pruning to encourage growth from this one to go that way, and this one to go that way, they will then overlap. And then that makes a nice little pad on that part of the tree. Now this part of the tree, we're now starting, oops, one's sticking out the trunk. We're now starting to get to the bit where we get too much foliage. Now I'm going to keep that. That forms a nice little layer. Just a little bit too long. You've now got to start thinking about the overall dome shape. Yeah? That's why I start at the bottom. I've created the base of my dome. So now I can see that there's far too much sticking out here, and a lot of people forget. There's very few people, when they're filming their bonsai, get a camera directly above and look down. If you look down on a bonsai, it should be circular. And very few are. They tend to be a bit wider than they are deep. It's just the way they naturally progress. It's not the end of the world, but yeah. A really good conifer bonsai is circular from above. So all of the branches stick out from the basic shape the same amount, and then you come round to the side and you get that sort of dome shape. The dome shape is an outline. Yeah, you don't need to fill it up. It might only have 2 branches on one side and then a lot hanging out the other side, but the dome's still there. It doesn't have to be full. And that shape just is pleasing, it just works. This pad, what am I going to do with that? We're looking at the front of the tree, aren't we? Forget which is the front on this. Could be either, quite honestly. If we take this as the front, we've got this huge amount of trunk showing with no foliage at all. Whereas if we come round here, okay, we've got a poke in the eye branch, but we've got more foliage to overlap the trunk. You still see the shape of the tree, but it's got little infringements on the shape. I like that, but if I want to see over the top of this pad and see this part of the trunk, then this is too much foliage, so it needs coming down to where we've got some side shoots. There's two really long extensions there, we'll have them both off, and a long one sticking out there. This doesn't need to be a big pad, this one. But it is the front, effectively, so it should come in here. Yeah? This idea of the circle looking down from above, then this is its maximum here, where these two come round. So this is too long. And this is sticking out far too much. As is that. Right, this is quite weak, this area, so we won't take too much off. A couple of dead bits on the trunk there. That'll do. Right, now onto this one. It's sticking out of the base that we don't want. Again, a large branch was taken off here. So if I chose that as the front, we're going to look at that because there's no foliage to cover it up. So if it's round there, okay, we get this bulge, but we don't have to look at the big scar. Right, here. I need space through here or this pad doesn't work. If the foliage on this starts mixing up with this, it becomes a bush. And it does it every year, and every year I cut it back. Because we're getting up near the top of the tree now, so we're getting up to where the real vigour is. And we've got a big branch here that's completely died. So no point in leaving it. Big long extension there, take the lot off. Big crossing branch there. Lots of crossing branches here. It's just too many branches. You know, the foliage will be too dense. It's all very well saying it's ramification, but each bud, when it opens its two leaves, those leaves need space. If they're all cluttered up with other buds, it just doesn't look right. It spoils the framework, the whole thing. So we try not to let that happen. So we don't want height here. We don't want crossing branches. Or dead bits. Bits that are a bit too long. Again, I'm watching my outline here. I've got to get to here. Yeah? So anything that comes out beyond doesn't last long, quite honestly. It's just got to go. That's a shame. Is that a bud? I'm going to have to take that off. If that doesn't work, take it right back to the base, it'll shoot out. And we've got more dead bits. Really long bit. Take that back to a bud. It's poking me in the eye, so we need to stop that. That branch comes right over the top of that one, so that can come off. And then we've got coming round here, yeah, again trying to think of our circle, obviously that has got to go. Dead bit there I missed, and there. That'll do. Now, I want space here. I've done this, that's a relatively flat look now. We've got a branch here pointing back towards the trunk, so we'll remove that. That gives me my space. But that will spoil it. So we take it off, that's dead anyway, and that bit sticking round there will spoil that space. I want that space there, it's important. And then we start looking at what will be the apex. Obviously at the moment it's gone mad. It was allowed to do that. So what we've got to do now is draw this line here, and anything that sticks out has got to go, and that's going to be quite a bit. All these long extensions, they can come right off. And then we will pull this back in quite dramatically. In fact, I'm going to take that cluster of branches right off. And that one. Has that got any buds on? No, it can come off as well then. Because this will all shoot out. This is where the vigour will be. So how much I take off here will get replaced relatively quickly. Back into there. But we want some buds up here. We need something to grow. Otherwise, this part of the tree will just die back, because there'll be nowhere for the energy to go. It's got to have somewhere to go. You can't cut it all off, but it can cut an awful lot off. Dead bit. Right, how are we doing? Dead bit there. And there. Every now and again, if you're on a turntable like I am, you need to watch what you've done, because you may have pushed the tree round and you're no longer working from the front, you're working from the side. You can actually cut bits off that you later wish you hadn't. So I'm going to trim off what I think now, and then we'll have another look in a bit. All these long bits. They might have to come right off and come back round. Where are we now? No, it's still too long. Right. That'll do. Now we've got a inward pointing branches, because they'll end up becoming crossing branches if they grow. Right, now this branch here effectively is the leader, yeah? And that comes back out towards us. Now I don't want this tree to get too much taller, but I want this trunk line to follow up here. Now if we were going to use that as the front, then this would be the trunk line, one of these two, but this is at the back, having chosen the front round here. So this becomes the trunk line. This is therefore a bit too thick, but I'm going to have to live with it. I've got it now. It's not going to disappear, is it? Dead bits. This is a very weak section here. This is not a very good branch at all. I could take it right off, but I will have a gap then. I'd only have this little bit. So I'm going to leave it. Just let it fill this little bit of negative space effectively. That bit's got to come off, because that's in the negative space. Right, now this bit. Remember what I said about a circle? So we're now looking at the side. So nearly everything poking me in the eye here has got to go right back in. So this will look quite harsh. Don't forget, this is the apex. This should be the top of the dome. And we've got far too much up here at the moment. We've got to take some pretty big cuts. It'll all shoot out. There'll be buds coming off the branches and the trunks all over the place once the energy kicks into it. Getting backache now because I'm arching to get at this. Do with standing on a chair or something. I always get this trouble with the taller trees. There's not much I can do about it. It doesn't take long, and once I've done this tree, I've sort of finished my work for the day, so I can have a nice sit down. So in the apex, you're looking for dead bits, obviously, crossing branches, bits that point back into the centre and don't actually encourage outward growth, and a thinning process. The idea being that each little twig should have its own space. So I just missed a couple of really bad dead bits here that I want to get now while I see them, otherwise they'll get forgotten. Right, that's that. That silly long bit as well while I'm there. So each little twig should have its own space so that its buds can open the leaves, and those leaves won't, with any luck, be touching any other leaves. That would be perfect. It's often difficult to achieve in an apex, especially on a maple that's going to go mad any minute. You also get this problem when you let extensions grow. I've got 3 thick bits here, so if I cut them back I will end up with a bit of a knot here, and it's near the top of the tree, but this piece has got to come off. Unfortunately, because it's just not right, so we'll take it off there. Right, and I'm just looking at my outline again now. Anything that's sticking out, crossing over, or is just too much foliage. In some cases it's just there's too many branches. All the leaves will be, just a mass. You lose your shape of your bonsai. You need that space. Silly long extension there, that'll have to come off. Trying to find some viable buds. That's growing in towards the centre. Let's thin that out. We'll take that one off. Right, now I can see that that branch comes right into the centre of the tree, so we want that off. It's quite a large branch, but it needs some open space. Again, right into the centre of the tree. Getting there. And we need to come round here. Missed that one. Oh, that's too long. It'll have to go back. We'll have to shoot out again. Try again. Crossing over. Dead bit. Too long. Too long. Crossing over. Too many branches, too long, too much, and too much. What about you? You've got a bud back there, that'll do nicely. You can go back too. Dead bit, dead bit, dead bit, dead bit. Dead bits. Right. So we're getting there. This is still sticking out too much. My dome shape's not there. It's a bit better. That bit's still too much. Come off. You do it now, you'll get a better shape to it when all this lot shoots out. Now what we've got is, if this is the apex here, then everything above it needs to come off. So this needs to come back to here. That can come back to that little side branch. That is an enormous dead bit, unfortunately. Crossing branch there. Crossing branch there. We're getting there. I'm not going to do much more now. And there. A little bit too much here still. I'm going to take that one out, even though it's quite a thick branch. I should be getting my branch cutter really. That wouldn't have got in there anyway, so still needed the scissors. Right, so that's the basic shape. No, it's not. Go away. That's better. And this needs to go as well. Right, so coming up here we've got our trunk up to here. This is the top of our apex. Behind it will be the rest of the apex. We've got space through here, so this will be a pad, and that, and that, and this. And they'll be quite dense. And then coming down there'll be a little space here, negative space, with another one. And then another tiny bit of negative space. I think I might even put a tiny bit of wire on there, or put an anchor on it to the lower branch. That's growing backwards, missed that bit. And then we come down to this pad, so is that. Oh, always find something you'd miss. So this is our lower right hand pad. This defines the outer extremities, and as such, still a little bit too long. And a big dead bit that I missed. That's better. And then coming down here, we've got our shape here, and then we've got our rounded front. I'm not going to look round the back because the rounded effect doesn't work round the back. It's just literally no branches down here. So that will be the tree, and as I said, that's going to green up pretty quick. Something's got to come off here. It's too much. Let's take the big one off, let the smaller ones expand. That's better. Right, so I'm happy with that. That's the trimming. Don't know how long that video's been running. Well, let's have a look. Quite a long time. So the only thing left to do now is my normal clean the pot up thing. Again, we've got this star-shaped moss. I think it's in most of my pots basically. So we try and get it out as best we can, and in doing so we give the top of the pot a good rake and break up the surface of the media. That will enable me to get water down into it once I start watering. At the moment we're getting far too much rain to worry about adding water in. There's just no point. I mean, this media is soaking wet, and we've got more rain this afternoon, and I'll put it back outside. But the idea of this is to break the surface, because with the dry weather last year, obviously I was putting the hose on these trees an awful lot, and it compacts the media down. And then when you try and water it, the water runs off because it can't get in quick enough, and it finds a way over the edge of the pot before it can soak in properly. So you end up having trouble hydrating your tree. So at this time of year I always give it a good, and move it away from the edge of the pot so that there's a lip there, That traps the water before it goes over the edge, and that gives it a chance to soak in. So, but the media next year will be up to the rim of the pot as well, because the roots expand and grow and fill up the pot. My beech, when I come round to repot it, you'll see, has actually pushed the media a good nearly a centimetre above the rim of the pot. The roots have just grown so much they've pushed everything upwards, and obviously that is now incredibly difficult to water. Not that it needs any at the moment. Deciduous tree that's still dormant, we haven't got bud break yet, and that'll probably be 3 or 4 weeks before bud breaks on a beech. But we will be patiently waiting, and that's my only repot this year. Everything else was either done in 23 or 24, and trees that have been done that recent don't need doing again. You're disturbing them unnecessarily. They don't, unless they've totally filled the pot and you can see that it's struggling to find any room to put out new growth, new roots, then by all means. But get your timing right with deciduous trees at bud break, just as the green starts to show. The energy is moved from the base of the tree up into the branches, and that's what's making the buds break. So at that point, the roots aren't actually doing much. So it's not so bad disturbing them at that point, not so bad. You don't do so much setback to the tree. Right, so there we go. Push that in. And then we'll get this moss off. Say moss on trunks can be damaging. This soft toothbrush tends to do okay, but I have got a wire brush if it doesn't. But the wire brush is a bit harsh. I'm keeping my eye out, I haven't found one yet, for a soft wire brush. Yeah, so that will then be, because this is rock hard, this is really stiff wire, and that tears at the bark. So I want something between the two. I'll find it one day. I'll find it one day. But at the moment, you know, this sort of moss does come off reasonably easily. But, you know, try not to damage your bark, especially on deciduous trees like maples. If you damage the bark, it can take years to recover, and sometimes never does. You get a scar. It won't go away. But what this needs is some sun on it. Do you remember sun? I remember. I'm sure we had quite a lot of it last year. Certainly haven't had much this year yet. It'll come back, and then we'll be cursing it because everything's drying out so quick. Still, so be it. Right, so that's that. I will get some granular feed and push down into the surface. We do have bud break, so again all the energy is coming up out the base of the tree, pushing these buds out, and it will deplete the overall energy of the tree. It takes a lot of energy to push all these buds out, and it all happens at once, so all that energy surges up the tree, rising sap, pushes the buds out, and it don't leave a lot. So you end up with an energy deficiency for a while, because until the leaves open properly, they don't actually photosynthesize. So you've got a gap between the energy that opened the buds and the leaves being able to start feeding the tree again. So adding some food at the base at that time benefits the tree an awful lot, more so than probably any other time. And by rights, it should be a reasonable, you know, a reasonable amount of nitrogen within the feed. Not a high nitrogen feed, not for trees, but a little bit of extra nitrogen doesn't do any harm. But a balanced feed is okay. Right, so that's that one done. And to the next one. When the next one will be, I don't know. Even though I videoed this on Thursday, it won't get posted for a couple of days. maybe even at the weekend, we shall see, or even possibly after the weekend. But I like to film and make one mess, so I might do 3 or 4 trees at once and store the videos away and then bring them back a bit at a time, rather than having them butted up against each other. So anyway, I shall see you in the next one, whatever it is. Bye for now.